mean, Elon Musk isn't gone. Look, billionaires have purchased presidencies and run the federal government behind closed doors before. Elon Musk's real innovation was going out there in public and bragging about running the government on social media. So when the American people were rightly outraged and pushed back, now he's trying to say that he's going to step back, but he doesn't want to actually step back any of his powers. And as you just laid out, he's just as involved as ever, meeting in the Oval Office with foreign presidents, going to the Middle East with Trump to strike up business deals, and even pushing for AI policy to benefit himself. The Republican budget bill that just passed includes a $25 billion contract that Musk is the front runner on, so the corruption goes on. So what I think your viewers at home need to know is we need to take 3 steps.
Donald Trump pretends that he's this big, strong, macho alpha man, but nothing could be further from the truth. Donald Trump is weak. He folds easily. Dictators around the world know this. VP Harris said it during her debate with Donald Trump that the strong men of the world were licking their lips at the idea of Donald Trump becoming president again, knowing just how easy it is to manipulate and humiliate him. And that is exactly, unfortunately, what Vladimir Putin is doing right now. In the latest example might be the most humiliating for Donald Trump yet, because he came out about his mental state. We're going to get into it all and the freak out that Donald Trump is having over getting humiliated. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into what is happening with Donald Trump's cognitive ability, which clearly the rest of the world sees, I want some unfortunate context on what is happening in Ukraine from our friends at MSNBC.
President Donald Trump expressing growing frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin amid the Kremlin's latest assault on Ukraine. In a social media post last night, he said Putin has, quote, gone absolutely crazy. In the same post, though, he goes on to criticize Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky while blaming him, Zelensky, Putin, and President Joe Biden for the war. Earlier in the day, on the tarmac in New Jersey, outside his golf club there in Bedminster, President Trump spoke about the situation to reporters.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Mr. President, what do you want to do about that?
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do. What am I going to tell you? You're the fake news, aren't you? You're totally fake. All right, any other questions? I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
It is hard to argue that President Putin of Russia's behavior has changed at any point during this war. Trump thinks so there. But the president's comments come just hours after at least 12 people were killed throughout Ukraine as Russia launched over 350 drones and missiles into the country overnight into Sunday. Dozens more were injured then in one of the largest assaults of the war so far. It was followed up with more attacks this morning after Trump's words, marking the 3rd consecutive day of large-scale strikes targeting civilians. Now, as Russia launched missiles and drones throughout Ukraine, both sides did complete their largest prisoner swap of the war. It was done in 3 phases from Friday to Sunday and included hundreds of soldiers from both sides. The terms, which were agreed upon in those meetings in Turkey earlier this month, included 303 soldiers exchanged yesterday, 307 combatants and civilians on Saturday, and then 390 back on Friday. President Zelensky posted on social media celebrating the news while vowing to bring home every soldier captured by Russia in the war.
Remember when Donald Trump, the anti-war candidate, said he was going to have this done, finished, not even on day 1, but before he was inaugurated? And since coming into office, he has not only refused to acknowledge that Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine was an invasion of Ukraine launched by Vladimir Putin, he's just completely capitulated and humiliated himself and has gotten played and embarrassed over and over and over again. And even Republicans are speaking out. Just listen to Ben Shapiro right here.
The leader of Ukraine has been basically doing whatever the White House wants him to do. They say 30-day ceasefire. He says, no problem, 30-day ceasefire. They say rare earth minerals deal. He's like, no problem, rare earth minerals deal. They say, why don't you go to Turkey and have direct conversations with Putin without a 30-day ceasefire? He's like, fine, I'm in there. I'm at Ankara. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin is sitting there doing none of these things.
Everyone knows how weak and ineffective Donald Trump is, especially the Kremlin. And it is the reason that they are firing back at Donald Trump's meltdown, his Vladimir, no Vladimir, please. I thought we were friends, humiliating him and calling out his cognitive state. Just take a look at what they just went public with. Putin accuses Trump of emotional overload after his wild rant. A Kremlin spokesperson has responded to Donald Trump's rage post against Russian President Vladimir Putin by calling Trump's comments the result of emotional overload hours after a massive Russian attack killed 12 people and injured nearly 80 others in Ukraine. Trump unloaded on Putin to reporters in New Jersey and then again shortly after in a Truth Social tirade. Trump wrote, I've always had a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin of Russia, but something has happened to him. He has gone absolutely crazy. He wrote on Truth Social, missiles and drones are being shot into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. I've always said that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it. And maybe that's proving to be right. But if he does, it will lead to the downfall of Russia. Asked about Trump's comments, Kremlin spokesperson told Reuters that Russia was grateful to Trump in the U.S. for facilitating negotiations with Ukraine. This is a very crucial moment which is associated, of course, with the emotional overload of everyone. Absolutely. And with emotional reactions, he added. For months, Russia has been going around in circles on the topic of negotiating an end to its invasion of Ukraine. In March, the Trump administration called on Russia and Ukraine to accept a 30-day ceasefire, only for Kiev to agree in Moscow to refuse. Earlier this month, Trump gave Europe his blessing to impose a crushing new round of sanctions on Russia, leading Putin to promise he was ready for serious direct peace talks with Ukraine. Putin had suggested he would personally attend the talks which took place in Istanbul. But despite Trump promising to go if Putin showed up, the Russian president instead sent a low-level delegation that brought nothing to the table. A few days later, on May 19th, Trump and Putin had a 2-hour call that ended with Russia agreeing to start negotiations towards a ceasefire. As Trump put it, in other words, a grace agreeing to basically do nothing. Since then, Russia has suggested it wouldn't sign any agreement with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. The BBC reported having seemingly won over Trump, who said he was handing over the negotiations to Pope Leo. The Kremlin has now escalated its attacks, catching the president by surprise. So essentially, the Kremlin is saying that Donald Trump's brain is too broken. He is too emotional. He's too upset to be able to negotiate and do anything. That is the world's perception of Donald Trump, that he is unable to fulfill one of his many campaign promises that will never come true because his brain doesn't work and he's freaking out too much. That's our president. There is no show of strength on the world stage. There is no steady leadership like we had under Joe Biden. There is the embarrassment. That is Donald Trump. And that is it. This is how the world sees him. This is how, of course, Putin sees him. It's the reason why Donald Trump has been played so much. It is humiliating that this is the state of our country, that our president is getting played by strong young men, while at the same time, Republicans who claim to care about these foreign policy issues just a few short years ago completely capitulate to Trump, and almost a more embarrassing show of a lack of strength. They're willing to sit quietly and let Donald Trump instruct them on what to do. And what they're doing is letting Vladimir Putin do whatever he wants. It is embarrassing. This administration is strictly operating to serve the interest of Donald Trump and his close friends, the richest people not in the country, but in the world. And of course, one of those that comes to mind is Elon Musk, who needs to get out of government. He is pretending that he's gone, but that's not actually true. And Greg Cazzaro was calling that all out right here.
Elon Musk isn't gone. Look, billionaires have purchased presidencies and run the federal government behind closed doors before. Elon Musk's real innovation was going out there in public and bragging about running the government on social media. So when the American people were rightly outraged and pushed back, now he's trying to say that he's going to step back, but he doesn't want to actually step back any of his powers. And as you just laid out, he's just as involved as ever, meeting in the Oval Office with foreign presidents, going to the Middle East with Trump to strike up business deals, and even pushing for AI policy to benefit himself. The Republican budget bill that just passed includes a $25 billion contract that Musk is the front runner on, so the corruption goes on. So what I think your viewers at home need to know is we need to take 3 steps. 1, make sure that Elon Musk doesn't get to just pretend that he's stepping back. We need to hold him accountable. 2, everyone needs to know that it's illegal for Elon Musk to stay a federal employee past May 30th. That's what federal law says. And 3, Democrats need to make clear we're not going to go easy on this guy if we retake the majority. We can use our subpoena and investigative power in a majority to look into Musk or any other billionaire that has broken any criminal laws, enriching themselves using the power of the White House.
What does that accountability look like right now, Congressman? You said hold him accountable. How do you hold somebody who's not in government, although pretending or cosplaying as a government official, accountable while you are in the minority, and certainly somebody who has the president in his back pocket, more or less?
Look, we get a lot of new legal and political and public pressure tools at our disposal beginning on May 30th if he overstays how long he's allowed to stay in government. We also need to make it really clear that majorities come and go, and it might only be a year and a half or so before Democrats have the power to do full subpoenas and full investigations. And if it turns out that Trump has been using his tariffs to wield power against foreign governments until they give Elon Musk a contract, like many reports are now leaking out that might be what's going on. If it turns out that Musk is steering FAA contracts to himself while firing employees that keep our planes safe up in the air, there's some real implications on that. And they're acting like Trump is going to be president forever. And if we have anything to do about it, that's not how it's going to be. And there can be consequences that are much greater than Musk just losing his billions of dollars in federal contracts.
So, Congressman, let me ask you then, I think you probably know the question is coming. How are Democrats going to tell the story around all of this? Because, as you mentioned, the midterms are coming. You know, the polling numbers for the Democrats still kind of in the toilet, but Elon Musk's are also in the toilet. So is there a way that you can use him to tell the story of how your party fights back to kind of bring people back into the fold, to make them believe you guys are actually fighting for them?
We have to earn back the trust of working class voters and tell folks that we're going to be a new kind of Democratic Party, one that fully severs our ties with the billionaire class, become an anti-billionaire, pro-working class American party. That's what can bring people together that may disagree on some of the social issues, but ultimately, this Republican budget bill that the Congress just passed out of the House pits the 99.9% of Americans getting screwed over by the 0.1% of Americans. If we unite that 99%, we can block this budget bill from passing in the Senate. And if they choose to still ram it through, stealing their own constituents' health care in order to pay for billionaire tax cuts, then we can make them pay for it at the polls. And a Democratic majority then has to actually go after this corruption and pass bold bills that lift everybody up instead of looting them. And I think that's how we earn back people's trust.
We need to officially fire Elon Musk. I don't know how this could even be a conversation. The man steals billions of our tax dollars. He attacks the most important programs in our government, saying that it's waste, fraud, and abuse. But at the same time, we've seen the size of our budget grow. Where did Elon cut government spending? Nowhere. He just made sure that the agencies that were tasked with going after his corruption and criminality were impaired from doing so. So how about we actually make sure they can do their jobs and make sure Elon gets fired from his? We're certainly going to be calling that out like Greg Kazar on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.